Okay, well, let's get rolling. Let's get rolling here. And we're working a little bit to get Master Moody and Tracy Thomas on here with us. So we will get rolling here and get them on with us hopefully here in a second. So everybody give me half a second to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row, and then we shall go from there. So we'll get started here in half a second for our everything you wish you knew and about internet marketing, or everything you know is wrong. A few people didn't like that title. I guess they felt it was insulting, but not meant to be insulting. It's just that things are changing fairly rapidly as we speak on all this stuff, as has always been the case. I wrote the first book on internet marketing for the martial arts business all the way back in 1999 or 2000. And to give you a sense, it was focused on marketing on GoTo, which was the prelude to became Overture, which became Yahoo's pay-per-click service, which was the, well, what should I say, the inspiration for Google's whole business model. Google at one time looked at buying them and chose not to when they fell upon the page link strategy. And, you know, when I wrote the book, I was in love with email, and now I'm out of love and ready to divorce email. So, but let's get started here. It looks like so far we have about 26, 30 participants, including our panelists. So let me see if I can promote a few people to be panelists, if that will work out for us, and we shall go from there. But again, I am Stephen Oliver, who seems to have computer issues as we speak. The internet is changing rapidly, but what hasn't changed is it tends to be a little bit flaky on us. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. I promise it will be extremely worth your while. And that works. I can promote to panelists. So here's Greg Moody. I am promoting Greg Moody to panelists as we speak. There's Greg Moody coming in here any minute. And Master Moody, I'm looking for, I haven't seen Tracy Thomas join us yet. There's Tracy. Let me get him promoted to panelist. There we go. We have a quorum for panelists here. Master Smith may join us, which for our internet marketing meeting would always be entertaining. And we have quite a few participants with us, and we're trying to queue up to go live on Facebook Live as well. But welcome Ken Morgan, Lance Evans. Welcome. I'll promote Merrick to panelist. Merrick, you are now promoted. And welcome Nada, Mike Zelnick, welcome Paul, welcome Paul Keller, Rachel Warren, Sally Burke, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And guys, I'm going to try to figure out how to allow people to ask us questions as we go. But anyway, hey, let's get started. Master Moody, why don't I turn it over to you to introduce yourself? And then I'll try to turn it over to Master Thomas to introduce himself, and we'll kind of go from there. And Master Moody, you're muted. So you're now unmuted.
I'm unmuted. I thought I had unmuted myself. We must have double done it. So, so I'm Greg Moody. I've been a school owner for many years, for Jesus, speaking close to 30 years now. I looked at the panel or the participant list, and I think most of the guys already I've met from one in one way or the other. So I've been in owning schools forever, and I work with both Master Oliver and Master Thomas in the Martial Arts Wealth Mastery Team and GoTo Karate. So really excited about being here today because as I work with school owners both on the coaching side to help them grow their schools and on the internet marketing side to get a lot more lead generation off the internet, we just notice all the time people want more leads, and and once they get them, really don't know how to keep those leads to grow their school. So that's what, all three of us have had a lot of experience doing. So I'm excited about that. But that's what I've been doing for the last 25 years. So.
Okay. And not to sell yourself short, I mean, you're a senior master with ATA, high-ranked black belt with a bachelor's in engineering, a master's degree, and a PhD in education. And you've been running multiples up to 8 locations at its peak for many, many, many years. Master Thomas, introduce yourself.
Sure. Tracy Thomas. I'm from Virginia Beach, and I'm founder of Go-To Karate and Rev Marketing, and then just recently, last few years, Go-To Firearm Safety. Basically manages a directory-style martial arts site that offers marketing and website services to the karate and martial arts industry.
Absolutely.
I've been in the business for quite a few years, about 30 years myself, and we basically just work with growing businesses, taking them from wherever they're at right now to where they want to be. And it's what we do as far as online.
And maybe, to introduce myself a little bit more, I started martial arts in 1969. I'm a 9th degree black belt at this point, but ran my first school starting in 1974, which by our standards today was laughable. It was the YMCA on the corner. But worked my way through Georgetown, working for Junior Institute as a branch manager, and then opened Mile High Karate 35 years ago this last August, and have been running martial arts schools continuously since then. And since we've evolved into extraordinary marketing, NAPNA, and then martial arts wealth, which was an outgrowth of the extraordinary marketing program and process, which is coaching and consulting for martial arts school owners. I was asking a member, Master Moody, you were there back our meeting in Clearwater, Florida. We were right in a beautiful meeting room and at the Sand Pearl, and I asked him. I said, I asked the group. I said, what's our elevator pitch, or Chet Holmes called it stadium pitch? We really don't have one, and people ask me what you do, and I tend to give them a 20-minute answer. And it was Colby Winkler, who has moved from being a $30,000 a month Taekwondo school in Mankato, Minnesota, which is a low-income, small population out in the middle of Minnesota school, to a $75,000 to $80,000 school. Last December, he did $212,000 cash. He piped up and said, well, when I started with you, I was grossing $30,000 a month, thought I was doing well. Now my net is way over what my gross was. Maybe that's your elevator pitch, is you turn the gross into the net, which, it's a little complicated, but it gives you the idea, I think. On with us today, we have Bob Dunne. Wave to everybody, Bob. Bob has been coaching, consulting, and helping martial arts schools for coming up on 16 years, I believe. Isn't that right, Bob? So 16 years on the phone, day by day, minute by minute. He works on support with our members, directly helping them every day and working with new members. Bob, share with them your phone number, if you don't mind, really quickly.
All right, there it goes. It wasn't unmuting me. 720-256-0208. And one more time, 720-256-0208.
So anyone who is during or after this meeting who would like to spend some time talking about coaching and support to grow your school at a higher level, I would suggest just give Bob a call, and he'll give you some advice and thoughts on how to do that. And then if it seems like a good fit, we're going to give you a bunch of free books and some free videos and all that stuff. But he'll schedule you a time to talk to myself and to Jeff Smith. Master Thomas, Master Moody, if they were interested in learning more about website services, online advertising services that go with that, et cetera, where would you like them to go for Go-To Karate?
Master Thomas, we got that link up.
Yeah, they can go to gotokarate.com/. 2019 to prepare them for the new year. And we're going to do a free evaluation, Master Oliver, for all of the individuals on this call, and only those that are on this call. So it'll be gotokarate.com/2019.
Okay, so we will repeat that for everybody before we're done, but Bob's phone number is 720-256-0208. If you're a black belt school owner and you're too shy to pick up the phone, you can always go to martialartswealth.com and you'll get some free videos and a couple free books and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I'd recommend you pick up the phone and call him, or go to karate.com/2019. Did I get that correct?
Yeah, that's it.
And
yeah, really everybody ought to do both. Yeah, I mean,
well, and I see a lot of people who are currently members of ours. I imagine we have a lot of people on the meeting who are currently Go To Karate clients as well.
Right, exactly.
So if you're a current member of ours, we'd recommend you visit Go To Karate and learn more about that. If you're currently a Go To Karate member and aren't working with us, I suggest you give Bob a call and we can talk about whether there's a good fit there or not. Master Thomas, let me turn it over to you. If you were to give them 3 or 4 things that are changing rapidly in the internet marketing world, and I'm going to assume they think they know a little bit about online marketing, but if there's some things that are changing pretty rapidly, what are some of your kind of top list of what's going on there?
Okay, yeah, appreciate that. In 2019, you're going to see a big difference with the increase in speed on the internet. Currently, right now, we are ranked number 28 in the world for internet speed, which is actually a lousy speed. We're really, some of the highest technology in the world is here in our country, but we're so poorly ranked. You're going to see a big increase in 2019 and 2020. The hard part's going to be is for a lot of school owners, a lot of businesses in general, it's going to affect you 2 ways. One is your website going to be able to meet the standards of the current speed that we're going to. And second, the server your site is on, is that server updated or prepared for the upcoming next couple of years here when they launch the high speed. I was meeting with an individual from ClickFunnels here this last weekend, and the founder of ClickFunnels, and he basically was going over all the different concerns he's seeing that's coming up in 2019, 2020. And it's basically going to be a big one's going to be the speed. Second one we saw in 2018 as one of the real big concerns is there's so much white noise. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I was going to mention before, that was a really big one. So, I mean, one is speed. And before you go on to that, I mean, a lot of people might think, well, I'm hosting my website on GoDaddy, or I'm hosting it on I built my own site and it's on Wix or Squarespace or one of those things. You think it's a big company. But when we've looked at sites, when I've done evaluations of sites and we do an analysis, and we can do that pretty quickly, a lot of those sites and a lot of the companies that are, I would say, second tier, I mean, to us in the Go To Karate business, you think that they're a pretty good sized company, and they're very, very low. You may think that your page loads fast because of your own server at home, but you have to do a real technical evaluation of this. And we've seen really, really low technical numbers on the speed of both the server and the website design. So we see this all the time, and in I would say, Tracy, 80% of the cases or more.
Yeah, I would say it's a very high percentage. And the concern is most companies, for instance, the server company we have 3 levels. With our server company, we have 3 levels we can have. They offer to us. We are in the highest tier level. We just took everything over to the highest tier. In the last 2 weeks, we just upped it prepare for 2019. And it's interesting because even the largest companies are using the smallest tier or the lowest tier that they're offered, so they're not on a solid state server. So their sites are loading at 5 seconds. If you're loading at 4 or 5 seconds, you just can't keep up. You need to
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I mean the upshot. I mean, nobody needs to know the technical details, but the upshot is, we have to do an analysis of your site to really know.
Yeah.
And you think it's okay, and you may think I'm using GoDaddy for goodness sake, and they're a big, huge company. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, we've seen horrible requirements, and it's only going to get worse. So, I mean, the topic today is what's going to get worse or what's not going to work in 2019. This is a really big one. So I didn't want to interrupt you on going to the next.
You're fine. Yeah, you're fine. No, all good points, definitely. And you, Master Smith, Master Oliver, Mr. Dunne, all you guys are probably seeing this across the board with this next one with the consultant clients that you have. I think everybody's gone in 2018 across the board. What we're seeing is these business owners from karate industry and everything, they're going into more is better. And more is not better. Whether it's fix your funnel, click funnels, all the top leading people in the industry, Infusionsoft, they're all going in and telling everybody right now, you have to master your channel and become a master of that channel. We see people spending, let's say they have $1,000 budget or a $3,000 budget. It's not a very high budget, but they're sticking their money into Instagram, Facebook, pay per click. And then when you look, they don't even have the proper hooks and stories and offers. They haven't mastered that channel. So I'd like to give everybody, there's a couple of things we can look at. Let's just talk about Facebook for a second. If everybody was to go on, if you were to go on any Facebook page, we can pull up a Facebook page. Is there anybody on here that you want to use as a Facebook page that we could pull up? Master Moody, that we could pull up on Zoom here? Somebody that we know that's running a Facebook ad?
Master Oliver, do we have one that would be good to use? Is it a good example or a bad example?
Or we could use a different company or anything at all that we have. Because I'd like to show you is I want to show you something they can do. If you're checking right now, it's so important to master that channel. To master the channel, you have to know what your competition is. And to master that competition, you need to know what the personas are and what their hooks are, what they're actually doing, their call to action, their offers. In order to do that, if you go to their Facebook page, ever since Facebook was hacked this year and had some issues going on this year, the government required that they go in there and they put the info. So if you go on any Facebook page currently right now, they're going to have, most people don't know this, you go in the left-hand corner, you're going to see info and ads. If you click on info and ads, you're going to be able to tell if they're split testing. If you see ads that look very similar, they're split testing those ads. So that's telling you that's their top ad. Now you cannot determine what their top ad is. What you can determine is the content they're using, what's their actual hook, meaning what they're doing to get them in. And you'll be able to tell just looking at the content and the images. Images being number one right now. Amazon and Groupon have led the way with that. So you really want to look at that. You want to look at your competition in your area and just see what's pulling them in. And that's really a really good little snippet of what you start with when you're running your ads, whether it's another marketing company and whatnot. And I pulled up 7 ads yesterday just to look at them here in the karate industry, martial arts industry. And I'll tell you right now, there are so many companies that are running really, really poor ads. So I actually think that the school owner would be better doing the ad themselves if they just read a little bit than if they were hiring a marketing company, which we know in reality that's never going to work either. We know it has to be a marketing company, but what marketing companies are doing is taking this shortcut, and they're not really doing the research beforehand. And it might be because some of them are charging like just a couple $100. They don't want to do the research. But if you're not having a success on your ads, it's not necessary that the people aren't wanting to find you. People are just going after that demographic instead of actually focusing on the personas. The behaviors of what they do. Is the behavior more on mobile device? Is the behavior more on, is it female, male? Is it, are they married, not married? Mobile device, computers. There's so much that it takes to do that, and it takes that research. So really before you do anything, and then you want to do the A/B split testing. If you look at the ads, what you're going to see when you go to Facebook and your competitors, you're going to see one ad. If you see one ad and you don't see 2 ads, that's a problem. That means what they're doing is they're running one ad. They're not A/B split testing. So what they're doing is it's like shotgun effect. They're just basically hoping they catch somebody with that. It's not going to work. You have to A/B split test. You have to decide what's going to work. And what works in my area will not work with Grandmaster Oliver, will not work with Master Smith and Master Moody. The same ad will not work in all the different areas. It's just different nationalities. If you have an area that has a higher nationality that might read right to left, but they speak English, it's going to be huge. It's going to be a big difference. And that's what you're seeing different right now in the market. It's shifting right now to where people need to focus in 2019 on one channel, one vertical.
So, Master,
maybe I can step back and give layman terminology to some of what Master Thomas just walked through, if that makes sense. Let's talk about a couple of things, Master Thomas. It seems to me that most of what everyone is teaching on internet marketing within our little niche, but it's probably everywhere, is 3 or 4 years behind reality, right?
No, sir.
And what we're really good with Martial Arts Wealth, and what you're really good with Go to Karate, is staying on top of not only what's happening today and what's truly working in the marketing, but where it's going shortly, right? And by the way, our live streaming never seems to be working here. I think Zoom is overloaded, perhaps. But a couple of things you said. The first is marketing concept 101, which is A/B split testing. And in our type of small niche, there's an awful lot of places where you're just never going to do enough stuff to do legitimate, real A/B split testing. Direct mail, for instance, if you're doing 1,000 pieces or 2,000 pieces or 3,000 pieces, doing real split tests, you may not ever really see a difference. However, online, and it's the genius of Google and the genius of Facebook, is it's built to always be showing 2 or more ads, figuring out which one is getting more clicks, showing the one that's getting more clicks, and then being constantly able to create a control and then experiment with another one. And that's one of the keys to getting this stuff to work is, and you never know what's going to be the highest pulling ad. We did an ad one time, and there's a stock image, model with brunette hair, model with blonde hair, both in the same pose. The blonde pulled better. Why did the blonde pull better? Who knows? I'll never know. We don't know. Was it the shape of her nose or whatever? But it doesn't matter, because in the Facebook environment, the visual is important. And if you're not testing different pictures, you're not coming up to an ad that's going to work better. I think the number, and correct me if it's a little off, Master Thomas, but about 80% of the likelihood of the ad pulling on Facebook is going to be the photo, and then the balance is mostly the offer. Is that a reasonable?
That's a reasonable. Absolutely.
Well, it sounded like the other thing you were saying is that people are focused a lot of times on way too many channels, and they don't get good at any of them. Isn't that what you started with too? That the other.
Yeah, what we're seeing is that people they're using their budget. Basically, I think what they're doing is it's actually, you don't see this outside the martial arts industry a whole lot. Inside the martial arts industry, I think that people are being sold on something more is better, more is better. Specifically with a couple different organizations, I think they're used to that pattern because of what they're using in their classroom. It seems like they're always trying to change something, always going to the next level. But really, it's all about mastering that channel because, there's billions of people using the internet. So we only need a very small percentage. If we focus on mastering one channel, it's to me like trying to get your black belt in 5 different arts at the same time. Why? Get good at one first. Become an expert at that.
So, I mean, so one thought, if you're going to spend $500 a month in marketing, you wouldn't spend $100 in Facebook and $100 in AdWords and $100 in something and $100 in something. It'd be better to keep it in one thing. For example, and we see that all the time when we're looking at somebody's ad profile. They're spending maybe $200 and it's $50 in AdWords and $50 in. So, I mean, it's a waste of time. They're not getting any value out of any of that.
Well, and to go back to the simple explanation, I think there are people who haven't figured out that these are just ad mediums. They're not free marketing. And if you take Facebook for an example, sure, it's kind of useful to be posting stuff on a regular basis and so forth. But we'll talk to a lot of people and say, well, we do a lot of Facebook. And it's like, well, what do you do on Facebook? Well, we try to post something once or twice a day. Well, okay. Facebook is in the business to make money. They're making billions of dollars. Google's in the business to make money. They're making billions of dollars. You've got to be spending money in Google. You've got to be spending money in Facebook as an advertising platform. I think of Google as a very sophisticated, targeted magazine. So if I can target, if I had a magazine that physically went out that targeted, high-income, educated soccer moms that have a 7-year-old that is ADD, I can get to that kind of targeting level with Facebook because they have such a robust database. And of course, with all of the legal problems that they're starting to have and congressional oversight, it may or may not be as useful into the future. But we shall see. That's again, as you said a minute ago, Master Thomas, all this stuff is changing so rapidly, but almost everybody, I think, probably who's on the meeting is still using technology and thinking from 4 years ago rather than current. You mentioned another thing too, is the agency problem. The agency problem tends to be that an ad agency, whether it's an online agency that's buying Facebook or whether it's an ad agency that's buying TV, is the agent that's working for you never understands your business, your customer, your target audience the same way that you do, right? And as you were saying, Master Thomas, is you hire somebody to do this stuff for you, and they want to look like the expert in their online thing, rather than oftentimes just focusing on what am I concerned with? I want more new students. And they often use metrics that really don't have much to do with new students. What was the old version was how many, how many, it'll come to me. But, I'm not concerned with visitors. I'm concerned with intros and enrollments. And they've got to be held accountable for what the entire pipeline looks like. Does that make maybe I could shift focus here a little bit. One of my pet peeves, and this is not nearly as technical as what you said, Master Thomas, is my pet peeve is email is dying a slow and painful death. And I'm not sure the slow part is accurate. Maybe it's dying a rapid death. And I still see so many people pitching folks on all your marketing problems will be solved is you send every prospect an email, and then you wait 3 days and you send them another email. Well, that was when I wrote the book in 2000, that was a brilliant strategy. And 10 years ago, that was okay. 5 years ago, it was getting iffy. But today, between deliverability problems and everybody's getting the stat that I read recently, and it's already a little dated, was that the average person was getting 145 emails a day, and the average person was getting 4 pieces of mail physically in their mailbox per day. Now, that second number would be dated by, Christmas holidays. Every time I go to my mailbox, I get 5 catalogs. But if you look at the volume, and what has happened is text messaging is kicking ass. You have essentially 100% open rate on text messaging. And what would you say if you've got a relationship built and you're emailing them constantly and they recognize, maybe you're lucky to have a 30% open rate with customers? Is that
definitely good assessment? Yeah, absolutely. I think there's 2 other things too. What you just said about the email, 5 years ago, you're looking at a 60% open rate. In 2018, it's a 30% as an average open rate. 2019, they're expecting 10% open rate.
Yeah.
So it's time to change. Second thing I want to add, though, it's kind of it's probably the same concerns you have with the consulting. When you're consulting, people don't understand that it takes time to test and get the flow down for the area. So they tend to want to jump ship 90 days, 60 days, a year. They just don't understand that when you're in it, you're committed. It's for the long haul. It's kind of like going to school and just having your, somebody starts off as a weight belt and having a 3-month membership just doesn't work for any martial arts school. Yeah. It's the same thing with marketing. We don't see that outside. Most of the people that we do with, whether it's 501Cs or whatever we're doing, it could be something simple as a business that's a plumbing business. They're typically going in for a year or two. The first 90 days is a testing phase. The second 90 days is another testing phase that corrects after the first 90 days, after we figured out what that A/B split testing was. Most of these people in the martial arts industry are jumping ship beforehand. They're hopping from one company to another. They just don't understand that they need to dig in once they have a trusted company, dig in and really understand that data and understand what that persona is for the clientele they're looking for.
Yeah, and that's not something that we're saying because, to stay with go-to karate forever or anybody forever. It's just a reality of that if you're going to have effective marketing, the statistics on the data or on the marketing, the results from the marketing can double or triple or quadruple or more the results you get. Just looking up, I mean, there's a couple people well, more than a couple, but a few people in the industry that are selling their Facebook ads. There was one guy, he's on the East Coast there, that's selling his Facebook ads. Here's my Facebook ads. Use these and you'll get a bunch of business. Well, that's never going to work because they may be different in different areas. They've got to test them. So one person it could work well for, and another person it might not work well for at all. But it's very hard to do to have success with that unless you're testing, as you just said, and it takes some time to gather enough data to do that, even on the internet with large volume of data. So it's just the reality of it. What matters is it's not a 5% change when you test. It can be double or triple or quadruple. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah, or tenfold sometimes. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that, you know, I believe I have a very educated eye on what advertising is going to work and what's not going to work. And we'll split test pictures that I would assume would have the same pull, and one will pull 3 times, 5 times, sometimes even 10 times better. You know, it's just, and it's stuff that you can't predict, even if you're very educated on this, without just letting the machines run their algorithm and split test it.
Well, even more so on the internet, I think, guys. I mean, we've been flabbergasted and surprised what works better and doesn't work. And very often when you know, even our clients are talking to us about, well, I like this better, or I like this better, or I like this. Well, I don't know what works. What we really want is results. And as you said, Master Oliver, it could be 10 times the results. So that's the value in making sure you stick with the process and work, as you said, with agencies or with companies that are going to really test it. Same thing for coaching that we do, Master Oliver. If you're getting good results, we track numbers. Master Smith's really, you know, we know we're sticklers about that all the time, is keeping track of your numbers, because these percentages make a huge difference in your bottom line. But anyway, Master Thomas, I think you had some other things that were key.
Yeah, those are all very valid points, and obviously because you guys understand what's going on. And the other concern we see is, oh, good.
Ray can introduce Master Smith since he popped in a little later. You're kind of quiet there, Master Smith, which is out of character. But we have Grandmaster Jeff Smith on the meeting with us. He is 10th degree black belt, has been doing martial arts since 1963. Black Belt Hall of Fame. More important to our conversation here, former general manager, head instructor of the Junri Institute in the 70s, world champion Jeff Smith, martial arts, into the 80s, and now chief operating officer for Mile High Karate, and a key component of our coaching program. By the way, Master Smith, feature story on you this month in MA Success magazine, which was well done, other than them silk screening out or screening out the Mile High Karate patches and cutting me out for whatever reason. Yeah, if you haven't gotten the MA Success with the silly ninja guy on the cover, there's a pretty good feature article on Master Smith here. And Master Smith, it's not exactly in your wheelhouse here, the internet marketing side of things, but I think you can certainly hold us accountable for bringing it back to layman's terms here. And we do have a Q&A function for everybody over here. I might remind everybody of gotokarate.com/2019 if you would like to learn more about websites, about managing your Facebook, Google advertising, etc., search engine optimization. And certainly you should be in the Go To Karate directory and have that updated if you haven't done that. On the meeting here also is Bob Dunne. His phone number is 720-256-0208. If you want to give Bob a call, he'll schedule a time for you to talk to Master Smith and myself about some ways that you can dramatically improve your results. Or if you're too shy to do that, go to martialartswealth.com and you'll get a couple of free videos and a couple of free copies of my book and a whole bunch of other free information. But anyway, Master Thomas, I interrupted you. So.
Oh, no, you're fine, sir. Fine. Yeah, other thing we want to talk about too, you know, you guys were talking about your numbers and testing. Right now, you know, it used to be everybody would just have a phone number on the website. Then it went to a phone number and a form, you know, submission. You can submit a form. And now it's a phone number, a form, there is a review system, there is chatbots, but just between the form submission and chatbot, what we saw now in 2018 was a 30% increase on chatbot activity. What you're going to see now is people mastering that in 2019, 2020, mastering the automation system, because it's really not a human being behind that chatbot. There are chatbots that do that, but these chatbots that most people are using now are all automated, and they're building what's called a tree. Basically, it's any response you have, they're going to be able to tell exactly what you're looking for. They're going to ask the right questions, and those need to be tested. Those chatbots, just like anything else, have to be tested. And that takes quite some time to test, because even the first question, once you test the first question, that's the second question. Is it kids? Is it women? Is it men? Is it adults? And that really plays such a large role. With 30% going to chatbot, if you have a 30%, let's say your average, you're hitting that 30% chatbot, but yet you're getting nothing off the chatbot, what you're actually doing is pulling away from people calling you and doing form submissions. So your chatbot is either working or it's not working. If it's not working,
30% of your traffic, sorry to interrupt you, sir, but 30% of the traffic that comes to the website, it gets routed to a chatbot. So we see a lot of people using chatbots, but what we're also noticing is that the chatbots are not improving response rate. They're actually sucking conversion rate out. So the conversion rate would be, if 100 people come to your website, we want to get X number to call you, fill out a form, or take some action so then you can respond. They become a lead. And if you do it right, it improves your response. If you do it wrong, it actually sucks away your response. So they're great tools if you do them right. They're bad tools if you do them wrong. And so unfortunately, we've seen a lot of them done wrong.
And that's the box that pops up or shows up on the page where you can talk to a live person and ask questions. And the 30% number, Master Thomas, compared to what it used to be, is staggering. We were experimenting with that 5 years ago, and it was abysmal result. But the 30% is a staggering number, and partially accounted for, I'm sure, the shift to almost all the traffic is mobile, not desktop. And people are looking for an immediate result. I'm going to shift off the technical for a second and say this: the biggest challenge that I know you have is you generate traffic for schools who then screw it up. And the biggest challenge I see across the board, and this is not a new phenomenon. 15 years ago, when I was mastering Yellow Pages ads and how to have the best pulling Yellow Page ad, if we didn't have somebody who answered the damn phone, it was all for naught, right? And this online, the only point of the website is to get them on the phone and to get them physically into your facility. And we still see, if somebody fills out the form and they call them 24 hours later, the automated chatbot thing is great as long as a real human being gets to them quickly. If they pick up the phone and call and they get voicemail and somebody, they call at 9 a.m. and somebody calls them back at 4 p.m., they're already on to something else. They're on to another martial arts school, or they've forgotten about it. And it was bad in 1992. Soccer moms always called between 9 a.m. and 10:30. Statistically, that was the bulk of incoming calls for kids. And if we didn't answer the phone right then and there, getting into phone tag and all that stuff was a nightmare. In the mobile era, what we do know is that most people don't answer their phone if they don't recognize the number. And Master Moody, you came up with a brilliant suggestion for that in other environments that whatever you call it, the
V card.
V card, there you go, the V card. But one big problem is optimizing everything and getting the ad channel on Facebook and getting the ad channel in Google going and getting the site SEO optimized and getting it conversion from unique visitor to opt-in or chat box or call. And then as soon as you hand it off to the school, they screw it up.
Yeah, we see that all the time, Master Oliver. What we're seeing is where a school owner call in, and we have one school owner specifically right now in the martial arts industry that is he has people on a waiting list. He literally is getting 90 leads a month, and he's putting people back 3 or 4 months. But it's really not. He doesn't really need a waiting list. he just needs the system, and he doesn't have a system in place. He doesn't have a foundation for his business. He doesn't know how to answer the phone. They don't know how to schedule appointments, and they don't know how to do intros. They just throw them in a class. There's no intro. They let them take it for 1 week for free. If they like it and stay and ask the price, no system is in place. So
yeah, we've been trying to tell him to fix that, but he's, sometimes he's so successful that he doesn't fix the problem that he should fix down straight.
We're seeing that more and more. And the other thing too is we're seeing people, we're seeing different clients that are just, they have no idea what the time frame is and when to call people back. Yeah. And that's why they need the consulting, basically. They need to really get that system down. They need your help, basically, to get them from A to B. They're getting all the leads. They just don't realize the return on their investment is absolutely huge, but it's a lousy return on your investment if you can't sign them up. If you can't
what we found,
you can't do what's needed.
Yeah, what we found, Master Oliver, with a lot of the school owners is they think their biggest problem is getting a lot of traffic, but then they don't know how to handle it once they get it. But we have so much traffic coming in from our different parthenons of marketing. It's not just the internet. That's a big one that, it takes hardly any work at all. It just takes a little investment, and you got to invest it wisely, because it's not how much you spend, it's how much you make on it. So you've got to really track the stats on it to see what your return on investment. And if you're making a good return on your investment, then you want to spend more because you're making more. It's the people who don't track their numbers, who don't know what kind of return they're getting in, that have a problem. And it's the problem that you have taught everybody, Master Oliver, quite well by coining the phrase drinking from a fire hose. And most schools have been drinking from an eyedropper. Yeah. And they're getting such little traffic that it's easy to handle. But when you start getting 200 leads a month or more, then you got to figure out how to turn those into appointments and intros and enrollments. And that's why the system that we put together really helps the school owners, is why they're able to get 50 or 60 enrollments in a month, where some schools don't get that in a year.
Yeah, we've had one of our members recently enrolled 54 people in 1 week. And but it requires urgency. I think one of the things that has changed, and it's internet related, but it's everywhere, is everybody's addicted to their damn mobile, right? And they're getting pinged and popped and notified and all this crap going on all the time. And they're responding at every whim, which really means that psychologically, if looking for martial arts lessons looked like a good idea at 10:12, by 10:42, they've been hit from so many different angles they forgot the idea if somebody didn't talk to them. What we're doing now, Bob can tell you, is when somebody opts in on any of the pages, they're getting a text with our phone number, says, hey, we're available right now, we'd like to talk to you. Whoever's going to do the outbound call gets a text with their phone number to immediately hit it on their mobile and call them right away. They're getting an autoresponder email, but they're also getting an autoresponder voicemail. And our mission is while they're looking at the web page, is to get them on the phone. The same thing would be true of the chat box. You can have it automated, but you also need a live person right there to get on the phone and talk to them. I think people's attention, that people were saying that 15 years ago about how many impressions you had to have and how many different distractions, but it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. You got 500 channels, but people are wasting their life away on social media, and their phone is pinging and popping, and they're reflexively, like it's a slot machine, responding at every whim, which means they forget about you quickly. So if you're not on top of it, you don't get it.
And the biggest thing that I've seen over the last 50, I've been teaching for over 50 years now, and the biggest change is, it's finally getting to the point where martial arts schools realize that they have to become not just a black belt in the martial arts, but they've got to become a black belt in business. And even the schools that are having all their systems together in the classroom, that they're working pretty good. The biggest problem that everybody doesn't know how to do properly and waste a lot of effort and energy on is the marketing. And if you're going to be a bona fide business, whether it's martial arts or anything, give me any business in this country that cannot survive without marketing. And the better you get at it and the more serious you take it, rather than forget this word of mouth and walk-ins, and you've got to go after them, and you've got to be competitive in that marketing industry, both internally, externally, and on the internet.
Well, that's right with with your website too. When we're talking about websites and online marketing and all the things you need to do to drive traffic to your website, if you do any of the offline marketing, which Grandmaster Smith, you've done a lot of work in our martial arts wealth group to help people with, and the rest of us have, as well with all of that. If your website doesn't work very well, you could do a lot of work with schools or a lot of work with other areas. And if your website doesn't work well, if it doesn't convert well, then a lot of that marketing won't work very well, because people might look you up, or people might go to your website. So, some of the things that we saw, I was going to mention a couple, but one thing before I forget, Master Thomas, we've talked to a few people lately who've had websites from some, built some websites, and they've gotten a lot of leads, and they've gotten high leads volume, but really low lead quality. And maybe there's something to talk about there too, because you and I have talked about that recently.
Right.
A lot of people that have gotten what we should expect off your lead quality on the internet, which it should be pretty good. It should be kind of like, the old days, if I did a mailer and I got, 30 people to call me from some direct mail campaign I did, or got 30 people to call me from something I did, or whatever, I would get 90% of those. I'd answer the phone, as Master Oliver just said. I'd be making sure the phone's forwarded. We'd be manning the phones to make sure we answered it. We get 90% of those to set appointments, and we'd have a very high show rate. That should be your expectation from what you get off of a properly designed website. What we've seen a lot of people have now is we'll have a few people that we'll talk to, and they'll get 30, I'm getting 30 leads for my website. I'm getting 40 leads a month for my website. Well, how many did you enroll? 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big problem too. And Tracy, you had some thoughts on that too.
Yeah, I think, and it's a good point. I think the concern we're seeing, and I'm sure Master Oliver, Master Moody, Master Smith, all you guys have seen this over the years, people want what they want to see on a website as a business owner, but it's not what the perception of the public or their demographics are. So that causes a big concern, a really big concern. And that's the concern. When we have it with clients all the time, they tell us, well, we want this. They don't understand your website is not a website. It is a buying funnel. What goes at the top of a buying funnel and what goes at the bottom of a buying funnel are completely different. People don't understand that, and trying to educate them on that is an impossibility sometimes. And in the martial arts industry, people are used to building, sometimes people are building their own websites. So they said, well, anybody can just build a website. It's not a website. We call it a marketing platform. And people need to forget the era of having websites was gone 5 years ago. People are still using the term. You need to start thinking of this as a marketing platform that you have that is going to grow your company. And you need to understand what a funnel is. And the funnel is the most important thing. A good example is, if you look up Russell from ClickFunnels, ClickFunnels recently did I think it was in May, he did it. He did $3.5 million in 90 minutes. And what he did is he wanted to prove that it's all about 3 things. And there's always 3 things. There's going to be the hook, there's going to be the story, and there's going to be the offer. It doesn't involve anything other than that. You have to have that buying funnel exactly that way. So you have to hook them in. You have to have that story, whatever that story. It could be a testimonial review. It could be something. I'll use the 501c for example. 501c's storylines are so easy to get people to donate because it's for a cause. It's for a child with cancer. It's for whatever that is. And then whatever that offer is, whatever that call to action is that you're doing.
Yeah, and in our case, it might be the benefit. So it'd be a benefit or testimonial.
Exactly. Yeah. So and the main thing right now is you can't say I want my photo, and I'm going to say this in the martial arts industry. We have people that want their photos. We have people that want to have their shirt off. They have tattoos. They want to have their shirt off, but they're teaching kids programs. How do you want to respond to that? That's just, you can't do that. You have to look the part to that persona, that demographic. If you're looking for those moms and those dads that are, you're teaching 7 to 8 year old kids, being tattooed up with your shirt off is not going to attract anybody to that site.
I talked to, I made no headway with her, but a school owner who felt like she was in the kids and family market. And she had basically 3 big logos, which, I don't know why people fall in love with their logo. They think they're AT&T, but that usually is pretty worthless. But every one of the logo had a knife in it. So she's trying to do the kids and family market, which we know is the soccer moms, is the decision maker. And every picture they had on the site, all of the logos, all were completely counterproductive. The main picture even was 2 kids sparring, and one of them was kicking the other in the balls. It's like, how stupid can we be with that? The other thing, and this is, even a few-year-old tech, but every image and every ad has to have a congruent funnel that it brings into, right? Everybody wants to make it as simple as possible. I want to attract adult men who want to be tough and learn MMA, and I want to bring in 7-year-old girls, and I want to bring in women who want to lose weight, and I show them all the same thing. Well, that's a sure way to dramatically diminish the results for each of those niches. Each one of them looks at it and says, well, that's not for me because, right? It's all got to be 100% congruent and show them what they're expecting to see and what they want to see. And, I couldn't agree with you more it's we think of it as a grease shoot. We want it to be the online version of an info call. If I had a walk-in, I don't take them back and show them the black belt class and explain to them why the guy's lying on the floor because he just got kicked in the balls. And then I take them over here and talk about the tournaments that the students are going in. Then I'm going to take them over here and talk about the knife classes. I'm going to show them what I want them to show them to become a beginner. And so many people, they think, well, if I just do this brochureware online and I have all the stuff I want the students to see, and then by the way, if you want to start new lessons, here's an offer. They completely miss the point of the marketing funnel and the process. Hey guys, we're going to run out of time pretty quickly. We have, I think we started with 50 and we're at 43. We lost a couple of folks, probably had to run. But if anybody has any questions, I'd welcome you to use this little Q&A and pop some questions in. But I would remind you to go to gotokarate.com/2019 to talk to these fine gentlemen about website development and so forth, and to call 720-256-0208, or if you prefer, go to martialartswealth.com to get a ton of free videos, a couple free books, and a free opportunity to chat personally with myself and Master Smith. And again, if you have any quick questions, feel free to hit the Q&A. And guys, we have about 4 minutes before our time runs out. So any last quick thoughts?
And walk them through how to use that Q&A just in case you have a couple neophytes in there.
Yeah, I'm looking at a Mac Pro and it just says click the Q&A button. And
you just touch the screen and then you see it at the top that says Q&A.
There you go.
Touch it.
There you go. But yeah, we'd be happy to answer any quick questions, and otherwise we're going to have to call it a day really quickly. Gentlemen, we have so much material that we could cover that this could have been a 3-day event.
Oh, definitely.
Master Thomas, you just came back from a 3-day event to speak of. But maybe as a quick summary, the response mechanisms online are changing dramatically. Chatbots are making a rapid ascent, and that's a real powerful thing for us to remember. Speed is paramount, and mobile is paramount. So you've got to have super fast, as you said, solid state servers, not hard drives. Video is powerful if used properly. It gets used improperly a lot. But super fast servers, mobile environment, you've got to always look at everything that you're expecting on Android and on iPhone, and if it doesn't show up well, if it doesn't convert well on those platforms, why bother? I think Master Thomas, last time I looked of our Facebook advertising, something like 95% of it was showing up in response was mobile. and I think 90% is kind of the norm. It was even higher than that. And it's still, maybe it's changed, but it's still more heavily weighted towards iPhone than you would expect by market penetration. That's in part because of the income demographics that are tied to Apple versus Android. And part of it is just the way that they count some of this stuff as well.
iPhone users also.
There was a couple of Q&As up there, Master Oliver, that you might just tell everybody. One of them wanted to know if you're going to send out the review of this webinar.
Yeah. Well, and then the maybe, assuming it got recorded, we'll post it up in the Facebook group. We were supposed to have it go live, which automatically posted in the Facebook group, but Zoom didn't cooperate today for the first time ever.
My recording button is on.
Sorry, sir.
No, it's being recorded. But the other question up here, which is as far as social media, what are your thoughts on organic reach versus paid?
Okay, so paid is the steroid of marketing. It's an injection. It gets you there quicker. If you do paid per click marketing for 6 months, you're going to feel a nice return on your investment. But when you're done with it, the day you stop it, you'll have no organic footprint. Organic is more expensive than paid per click because it takes longer to get you there. But once you're there to stay. Organic is where you want to be. Most people in the martial arts industry, most people want paid per click. When you go outside the martial arts industry, most people want organic. It costs more, and you're there for. You have to be committed to actual marketing. Master Smith said earlier, it's that commitment. You know, you got to have some kind of commitment to that marketing, whether it's online marketing or any other kind of marketing. But in this situation, the online marketing, there has to be a commitment to it. You definitely don't just want to do pay per click. If you just do strictly pay per click, once you're done, you're done. There's no footprint. You didn't go from position 9 to position 1, position 9 to position 7.
Yeah, and that's specifically relevant to Google and related search platforms, right, Tracy?
Right.
You know, from a standpoint of social media, I tend to believe that people misunderstand what it is generally, right? Is they get so fixated on getting likes, thinking that that's you know, somehow getting them in front of people, that they miss the point that it's the most robust targeted advertising platform yet to be developed. And it's relatively expensive. You have to put a fair amount of budget into it. And the same person who might have spent $1,000 in the newspaper will think they can put $50 in Facebook and somehow they're going to get results. You know, I'm happy if we're getting new enrollments for $200 up to $1,000 a piece. I'm happy because I know we're going to make them worth $6,000. So it's going to be a good return on investment. I find we have difficulty getting martial artists to understand return on investment.
Well, that's one of the questions here too, is how much should you invest in these social ads? How much per day, per month? And it depends on what you want to get out of it. I mean, it's what a lot of people do is they want to invest, you know, $50 a month. And that's barely scratching the surface usually. And what people should be thinking about, and we've been preaching this forever, Master Oliver, is what your return on investment is. If you're getting a new member at $100 for a new member, or $200 for a new member, your return on that investment is huge. So that you should be thinking about, if you're getting leads at $20 a lead or $50 a lead, and you're enrolling every other one that you get, that's a new member per $100. That's a great ROI. That's a great return on investment.
Right.
What ends up happening is people look at their budget and go, well, gee, I'm spending, you know, $100 a month or $300 a month on my marketing. That's a lot of money that's coming out of my bottom line. But they need to look at it in terms of return on investment and net
profit value, customer lifetime value.
Yeah,
customer lifetime value. Because I wanted to start off with Google. I know there's a question about social media, because people have to understand, when you do social media, when you do Facebook, you're still not going to have a footprint.
Yeah.
You're done. So really, typically, social media outside the martial arts industry, that's more of somebody who has more funds to be able to spend. So if you're trying to build your business, dollar for dollar, you're better off doing pay per click. It's just less expensive on Facebook, but you can't control the personas and the behaviors on Facebook as much as you can on Google. There's quite a difference. You can actually narrow your demographic target market better on Google than you can on Facebook.
Yeah, we've got a couple questions about how does your platform differ from some others and so forth. Anybody has questions about that, I suggest you go to karate.com/2019. Set a time to talk to these gentlemen. They will give you a comparison and contrast and so forth. You know, so many of these templated, people who are doing cheap, templated, take this picture. I mean, those things just aren't, they're crappy. I mean, and I'm not commenting on any particular one. It's just that the standard templates don't do a good job on SEO. And the standard templates typically are designed by somebody who's a techie and not somebody who's actually been in the field running businesses, running martial arts schools, and concerned about return on investment and conversion. Cheap is usually expensive, and quality is relatively inexpensive, right? So
yeah, that's exactly right.
You've got to focus on that. A lot of other questions here, but we're happy to answer those directly. You can call Bob Dunne or go to martialartswealth.com. Happy to talk to you about how to dramatically jump your gross and get more effective at conversion and the entire marketing Parthenon. And go to karate.com/2019. Feel free to go there.
Yeah, I'm sorry we couldn't answer more of them, but everybody seemed to ask all the questions right at our time limit. So
well, I then told them to and assumed there weren't going to be any, and then all of a sudden we got hammered, which is story of our life with our members too. Yeah. But I guess I will leave it with this: is you've got to decide whether you're going to be a professional or not. If you're going to be a professional, you've got to have mastery of each of the pieces of your business. Almost everyone we talk to feels like they're a great instructor. If they just had a few more students, that'd be great. In every case, they're wrong. They're doing a bad job on lifetime value. They're not doing as good a job as they could on student retention. On the marketing side, they all just think they need more leads, and oftentimes they're doing a crappy job of lead conversion. In fact, almost always they're doing a crappy job of lead conversion. So we've got to get all of those pieces in place. You certainly, in today's day and age, need to be prepping for what's happening next quarter online, because it's changing that rapidly. And you've got to be prepped with somebody who's going to pay attention, focus on, and be on top of that. Gentlemen,
there's another thing that everybody has to figure out is what is their student value, so they know how to calculate their return on investment. A lot of them don't even know what the average student in their school spends, and there's ways to calculate that you need to do, so that way you can really make a good judgment against the return on the investment.
Yeah, definitely.
And could you say that number again for everybody, Bob?
I got it, 720-256-0208. And if you missed that, go to martialartswealth.com. And for go to karate.com/2019. Anybody who's not already a client of them, I would recommend you do that. Anybody who's not already working with us, and I see several on the meeting who are, certainly go to Martial Arts Wealth. There's no obligation. It's, we're going to give you a bunch of free stuff. It may or may not be a good fit long-term, but you're certainly going to benefit in the short term. Master Thomas, Master Moody, anything to add before we call it a day?
No, great. We'd like to work with everybody in both groups, and really everybody does need to pay attention to what's going to happen in 2019, because it is going to be a lot different. Yeah.
Don't be reliant on email. Master Thomas used the number of 10% open rate projected for next year. And that's it's a startling but real number. I would have guessed lower than that if I was going to pull a number out of the air. I started out a rabid enthusiast of email, and I'm rabidly apathetic about email at this point. But I'm excited about chat boxes, and I'm excited about text messaging, and I'm excited, as always, about direct mail tied into all of it. And the important thing is to convert your leads once you get them and make sure they're high quality leads when they come in, and we can fix both of those things for you.
And you've got to be a black belt in business, and marketing is such an intricate part of that.
Yeah, and I will say that the worst thing to do is ever stop learning. You know, the folks that responded that said, I already know about that stuff, are usually working from 3 or 4 year old paradigms. And online, you can't work from 3 or 4 year old paradigms. And frankly, Matt Smith, you know, you and I talked to a school owner who's been running a school for 50 years now, and he's leaving $250,000 on the table every year just because he hasn't had a fresh set of eyes looking at his business. Just like with Paul Pendergast, you know, he added well over $200,000 in net profit just with having our fresh eyes looking over his shoulder a little bit and pointing him in the right direction. So there's, you know, Jay Abraham says that most businesses have more money laying around on the floor that they haven't bothered to pick up than they can by going out and chasing more. And I always find that to be true. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for everybody who joined us.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. And there is a recording, I believe, so we'll share it out on our Martial Arts Wealth Facebook page and perhaps some other places as well if you came in late or had to leave early.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, have a good day, guys. Bye.
Bye, everybody.